Hello, friends, and welcome to this sermon for the fourth Sunday of Advent. It's for December 20th, which is my birthday. So it is, in fact, my birthday today, and the text is from the first chapter of Luke's Gospel, verses 26 to 38. So if you'd like to go ahead and have a read of that now, if you haven't already, you can just pause me and go ahead and do that. So it is my birthday today. When I was born 54 years ago today, my mom was 40 years old. She had already had 6 children, the last of which had been born 7 years previously. Most people assumed she was done. Maybe she assumed she was done. I don't know, but apparently not. Now, my parents always insisted that I was planned, despite how things look on paper. But maybe I was just a nice surprise. And that's okay, because as everyone knows, I do love surprises. Well, in a gospel story this morning, Mary is most certainly surprised by the angel Gabriel's announcement that she is pregnant and is going to give birth. Jesus was definitely not planned. True, she was betrothed to Joseph, but as she says, she was a virgin. And she would likely have been between the ages of 12 and 14. At the other end of the spectrum, her cousin Elizabeth also found herself surprised by pregnancy. Elizabeth considered herself long past the age of being able to conceive, but hey, the angel Gabriel came to her with the same announcement he'd given to Mary. She was pregnant and would give birth. Both women are surprised, and both would have had good reason to be. Based on age and experience, they figured they knew what they could expect. They figured they knew the truth of their condition and their situation in life. But there was something more that God had in store for them. God is no respecter of what we think is possible, thank goodness. Gabriel says nothing will be impossible with God. And there is a whole world of great good news in that. Yes, I'm turning 54 today, so I think I can reasonably know what to expect in life. I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot. I know that, for one thing, people are capable of surprising you, both with delight as well as with disappointment. But still, I think I know what it's realistic to expect. Don't worry, I'm not announcing that I'm pregnant, but this story reminds me that things we don't expect are possible. The night before I wrote this, the first shipments of COVID vaccine arrived in Canada. That is kind of a miracle, and certainly is a best case scenario based on information we had 9 months ago. I honestly didn't expect vaccine development to go as smoothly as it has, especially considered the new technologies being used, but there it is. I didn't know exactly what to expect when our world was turned so upside down 9 months ago. What I did expect wasn't good. Many of those expectations have turned out to be reasonable. The scale of illness and death, the stress put on our healthcare system and its workers, the economic toll and the strain on our mental health, none of these things surprise me. But what has surprised me is the new ways I've connected to some people and how life-giving that has been. What has surprised me is how lovely stillness has been when there is literally nowhere to go. What has surprised me is how life-giving the Psalms have become for us and for our congregation. I mean, if Gabriel had come and announced that to me 9 months ago, I fear I would not have believed him. Perhaps all that shouldn't surprise me, but it does. One fundamental way for us to think about God is that our God is a God of resurrection. Our God is a God who wrests life from death. Easter Sunday morning. Now there's a surprise for you. And that event reminds me that we might be surprised to come to find something beautiful in the midst of loss. or find some new capacity in the midst of diminishment. I regularly go out walking along Omens Creek near where I live. I go out at all times of the year, and I like to notice the changes from week to week and from season to season. What I didn't expect to see recently was a lovely surprise. I saw some trees newly taken down by beavers, presumably for a lodge somewhere nearby. Now, I am determined to find that lodge, but somehow I find it surprising as well as comforting that somewhere near my home, my beaver friends are resting warm and snug in their lodge, perhaps pushed up against the bank, resting some life from winter. Well, December 20th is not only my birthday, it is also the year that Katie Luther, Martin Luther's wife, died in the year 1552. Katie was a nun who was sympathetic to calls to reform the church. Eventually, she and several sisters fled the convent in which they lived in search of a new life. Seeking refuge, she sought out Martin Luther, and eventually she took the old bachelor for a husband. Ultimately, they had 6 children together, they cared for 4 orphans, and they tended a steady stream of students from the university where Luther taught. She got up at 4 o'clock every morning, bred cattle, tended the garden, brewed the beer, and fed the household. By all accounts, it was a happy marriage for the ex-nun and the former monk. For both, it was a great, wondrous surprise, and something certainly neither of them ever expected. It's something to wonder about. And the quality of wonder is something we value at this time of the year, above all, I would say. Perhaps we are nostalgic as we remember what it was like to be a child, when wonder seems to have come so much easier to us. But there is good news in the announcements to Mary and Elizabeth. God will not surprising us no matter what our age. We long, I think, to be surprised by life. We hope to be surprised by reconciliation and justice in our world. We yearn to be surprised by economic equitableness and social harmony and healing at every level of life. And the one who brings it all was first announced as a surprise to Mary all those years ago. And that one has the capacity to surprise still. Perhaps surprise is Jesus's modus operandi. I mean, his conception and birth were a surprise, so why would we think that the way he continues to come should be any different? As a grown man, he advised his followers to keep awake and watch for him. Perhaps that was simply a way of telling them to expect to be surprised. Perhaps it is our job to remain in a constant state of wonder and expectancy, and perhaps it is God's job to surprise us. And maybe, above everything else, we should prepare ourselves for the biggest surprise of all, which is that, as we learned as children, he is born in us today and seeks to bring healing and reconciliation and justice through us. Greetings, favored one. The Lord is with you. A surprise indeed. Amen. Be well, my friends. Thank you for joining me in this time for this sermon. It is always a great delight to bring you a good word. In a few days' time, it will be Christmas. And I invite you to stay tuned to our emails and our announcements and our YouTube channel, as Christmas Eve we will have something special for you posted on the FLC YouTube channel. Until then, keep safe. Know that you are dear to me and to us as a staff. We love you, we miss you, and we will be in touch again soon. Bye-bye.